Chevy Camaro. Got an 8-track player in it.
Oh, wow.
Previous owner left Bob Seger's Night Moves in there. I listened to it, and it's kind of the soundtrack of my life of Detroit's own Bob Seger. But what's really great about this is I have a 79 International as my car. It's got an 8-track player in it. I have the very 8-track to this day.
You're kidding me.
No, but how about you?
I grew up, so all these albums here, I mean, Aretha, my mother had every Aretha album, and like our Christmas gift to my mother, her birthday gift was always like, what's the latest Aretha Franklin record?
So it's on vinyl in your house as well?
All of it. Wow. All that and Stevie. And then Miles, and my dad loved jazz, and so it was Miles, it was Coltrane. One of my personal favorite musicians for when I was younger was Prince. Oh. And of course from your estate. And he, in fact, I'll tell you, so my husband Doug and I'm more of a hip hop girl. Yeah. He's more of Depeche Mode.
Oh yeah, about the same time.
I'm sure you like
of course.
The same music.
Of course. So.
But Prince, in the Venn diagram of things, Prince, he and I love the same, because talk about how Prince was with that guitar, man. I almost know by heart every one of those songs.
I feel like a trip to basic.
Yeah, Vanessa, as almost everybody knows, gas prices have been going up for a while now. The gas stations behind me have prices around $3.50 a gallon. But with Russia invading Ukraine, critics of President Joe Biden now say that his decision to cancel the Keystone XL pipeline is eventually going to lead to higher energy costs for Americans.
Park is going to happen here if this happens.
It's on my bucket list, I'll tell you that. Tell me about your dad and his influence on you. Yeah. He served our country. You have served for our country for so many years.
Yeah. I was 19. My little brother, I think, was eight or nine when he passed. He was a chain smoker. Just addicted. They got a bit Korean War era. And that generation of men, pretty stoic. After he died, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She became our rock. And now she had to go out and get work because the medical bills broke her. And Social Security. And Social Security survivor benefits. We're fine pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps. We had no boots. That's the boots.
And it's survival, literally.
It is survival. We all paid it back. So programs that are just fundamental to keeping people from dropping into poverty, but to live with dignity. You keep talking about that.
We got to help people get through a hard time. We can't have a country and policies that let people fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
Calls from the U.S. and Europe not to retaliate against Israel for the assassination of a Hamas leader in Tehran 2 weeks ago. Iran's president saying the country has the right to respond. A senior U.S. official tells NBC News Iran is still deciding how and when.
I love what you have done with your life. You were coaching a high school football team that was winless.
Yes.
And you came in, and so they were clearly the underdogs.
And
what happened?
Yeah, it's a team. And I had great coaches with me, and we were friends, and we buckled down. And look, I was a fairly big school, but nobody wanted to play because they hadn't won. And this group of coaches said, first and foremost, we gotta build the team. We got to go out and find people. So we invited them in. And I'll be honest, the first year, we did not score a touchdown until the last game of the year. We got shut out in every game. My high score until the final game was my defensive tackle because we got a safety in one game. 2 years later, those kids won a state championship. That school has won several more since then.
Right.
After we left, you build culture. You build winning.
Right.
People want to be a part of it. And that's the excitement. That's the excitement of what it can be.
That's how I feel about our campaign.
Yeah.
Our campaign is the underdog campaign.
Oh, yeah.
And with our joy, we also have to understand that we're still up against some forces.
Yes.
That are trying to divide our country. It pains me the kind of division and the stoking of divisions that has taken place, right? And when we can remind people and create a space for everyone to come where they see each other and say, magic. Hey, we're all in this together.
It almost feels like everybody's coming out of their house after a blizzard and, a Minnesota reference, and you shovel out, and then you start talking to your neighbors. How was it the last couple of days or whatever it might be? They're re-energizing, and they're looking for their neighbors. We keep saying, keep talking about the promise of America, and we say, take care of your neighbor.
Chaos and a heavy police presence at the migrant shelter on Randall's Island. Just before 8 p.m. on Friday, the NYPD responded to a call. Detectives say it started as a fight and escalated to a stabbing. A 25-year-old male victim was taken to a hospital, and two men were
in the face of a stranger. When you're looking in the face of a stranger, you should see a neighbor, right?
Yeah. I'm about crying on this when you talk about, look, a girl from Oakland, California, and a guy from out in Nebraska on there. And the number of people I watch just kind of nod and break into a smile, this exploiting the differences, it can't last. I talk about it being halftime in America. We're a touchdown down because a lot of folks, it's easier to tear things down. It's easier to divide than it is to build. But once you start that momentum, once we come out and where we're at right now, people want to be part of something that's winning. They want to be part of something that's good, and they want to be part of something that everybody can be a part of. And I kind of like the idea of being a little bit behind.
And so on. In all systems, the U.S. has sent tanks and missiles and artillery and helicopters, drones, missile defense systems, troop transports, radar, loads of infantry weapons and equipment, and so on. In all, more than $75 billion worth of aid has gone to Ukraine from the U.S. And military spending, this part right here, accounts for well over half of that total. That is much, much more than the U.S. sends to any other country, and it absolutely dwarfs American contributions to Israel, which in 2021 was in the typical range of $3 to $4 billion, Laura.
I'm looking at Coach Walz right now. I'm looking at Coach Walz.
Did you always know you wanted to be an attorney?
My parents met when they were active in the civil rights movement. I grew up around a bunch of people that were, marching and shouting for justice. And some of the heroes of that movement were the lawyers, Thurgood Marshall, right? They understood how to translate the passion from the streets to the courtrooms of our country. And they believed in the Constitution of the United States and the principles upon which it was founded. And that's where they then, in the courts of America, reminded us of the promise, right? And the ideals of our country, including equality, freedom, right? That's why I went to law school. But the other reason is when I was in high school, my best friend, I learned, was being molested by her stepfather. And when I realized what was happening, I told her, you have to come live with us. I called my mom. I have to tell you, Tim, it was the first time that I realized how not everyone can take their safety for granted. And what we should all feel is a sense of responsibility to protect people from harm. So that's why I decided I want to be a prosecutor.
Wow.
And as a prosecutor, I prosecuted homicide cases. I prosecuted a number of different types of cases, but I specialized in child sexual assault cases. And one of the things I did was create a whole unit dedicated to focusing on children who are being abused and to ensure that they have dignity in the process and justice. There's so much work that we still have to do to make sure that children have a voice.
For me, that's kind of with me. Get in as a teacher. It's about the kids and wherever you teach.
Right.
Once I had my own children, it became so clear to me, and I think it made me a really good teacher. That child who came through the door was somebody's most special thing in their life. Thinking of a parent dressing their little one up and sending them off to school so proud of them, I wanted to come through that door and just lift them up, that sense of service.
Tehran's going to get richer. Lindsey Graham sounding the alarm. Administration greenlights roughly $10 billion for Iran. State Department insists it's only for humanitarian aid.
It's interesting. Two different parts of the country, two different lived experiences, but all coming to that same goal of everybody getting a fair shot.
Well, I have to tell you, Tim, even though you and I grew up in different parts of the country, you remind me of the people I grew up with. Hardworking folks, plain speaking. People who know the difference between right and wrong and care, love thy neighbor in the most authentic and true way. Those are the folks I grew up with, and I know that's who you are, and I'm so glad we're doing this together.
I'm proud to be with you.
8.5 million illegal immigrants have crossed the border since Joe Biden took office.